Yes. And welcome, guests, friends, visitors. Welcome. I've got some really, really good, in fact, absolutely magnificent news for all of you. And that is the truth. Okay? Now, the truth is that life is, in fact, perfect. It has been made thus, it is intended to be thus, and so be it. And now that that's decided, nothing and nobody whatsoever can pose any type of opposition or stop this mastership, this mastery as we're practicing, especially because of the following key points. And that is that we have clear comprehension of how life, the universe, the world around us, and even more particularly, by wisdom, great divine blessing, we know exactly, exactly how life works and how to make anything work in life, and also rest too. Do you actually comprehend just how important this is? Because think about this for a second. What if I had to guarantee the security or the safety of any particular operation or human beings, right? Could I guarantee the safety? Could I provide absolute security and prosperity for X amount of humans? The answer is, in fact, yes. And it's based on having, as I stated earlier, a certain amount of wisdom, retaining that wisdom, practicing it, properly applying it, and also receiving additional wisdom from the Creator, blessed be His name. As I said at the very beginning, Baruch Hashem, blessed be the name, as we go. So the thing is, you have to be intelligently receptive to divine guidance and instruction and communication. Okay? Comfortable, too, at times. In fact, actually good. Actually very good. Generally very good. Sometimes, okay, there are moments when clear facts become visible to you. Yeah, greetings and welcome. I see we have 11 guests here. It's a pleasure and welcome. Truly great. I'm happy to see that we have some good company here during this presentation. Now, just to recap for a second, what we're actually talking about right now is the subject of just how good of a so-called divine guide and aid and assistant we have provided to us by our heavenly Abba, right? In the form of, or in what is classified as wisdom, or also known as the divine feminine. So now, from a human point of view, from a very basic point of view, this would be like having a mother, right, as a human being who is just capable of, like, basically accomplishing anything, stopping anything, right? Or if it was a person, right? If wisdom was a person, yeah, if wisdom was a person, this person would be like the best friend, the best, best partner, best this, best that was always absolutely, and not only always and absolutely, yet permanently and increasingly, okay? I'm talking about a level of goodness here that it just increases exponentially, eternally. Like, the benefits of wisdom, okay, that's a divine blessing, thank God Almighty, right? Yet, we're talking about actually having something. It's like having a helper, having the assistant of all assistants. Yeah, thank you. Having the assistant of all assistants, right? Now, you can have this. Anyone can have this. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I have this, okay? And so should you. So should all of you. It's actually something that's readily available to us all. So what this is, and to put this into practical terms, is it's essentially that you live your life. Of course, you're going to live it very good. You're going to be happy and blessed. Yet you're living a life that is also guided by, say, the Creator and His assistant or perfect sort of ordering system of wisdom. At that point, when you do this, right, when you start to practice self-mastery, guess what? You are actually set in a way that is safe, that is eternally safe, that is eternally good to go, and increasingly good. And there is nothing and nobody, okay? I repeat, there is nothing and nobody whatsoever, no human being, and even, I was about to say, only God Himself can sort of improve or alter your trajectory. So there's literally nothing and nobody that can pose a threat, because with wisdom and by knowing, more specifically, by knowing what life cycles you're in and what time it is for what things to happen, and by living a little bit prudently and thus benefiting maximally and increasingly, what you have is, you have a sort of safety that is immune and unstoppable by anything, anyone, everybody, no matter what, where, when, how, and who. As long as, though, right, you keep a certain amount of good order. So this could be compared to a person in a canoe, right? You're canoeing, it's fun. You have a standard amount of safety, though, that you have to pay attention to as you go on this happy journey. And of course, you enjoy the journey. Yet there are some things that are basically, like sort of standard safety procedures. Yes. And if you keep that going that way, guess what happens? You're always safe. And I'm not talking about like only having a rope while you're climbing. I'm talking about a safety that nobody can alter except yourself. Because what happens is, look, we as human beings, we have something called free will, okay? And what we have, and that's a serious thing, we have got free will, divine free will. It's actually the most important decision-making tool that we have. Because I can choose to do something now that is foolish, or I can choose to do something that is wise, okay? Knowing the difference between the two has to do with divine mercy, blessing, guidance, also real good experience, and actually having received, retained, and victoriously implemented and applied wisdom, practically applied wisdom in your life, and had victories upon victories happen, right? At that point, you really become an expert, you become a master, okay? This presentation, this live stream, thank God Almighty, we're now, we're streaming live now. It's been a while. I had to take took almost a year to get, for some reason, it took almost a year to have 51 subscribers so we could live stream. Well, now's the time, thank God for that. Now, if you have what is known as, hold on. If you're practicing self-mastery, right? You're keeping good order. It's basically very simple. All you must do is monitor the cycles of life that you're in and operate accordingly. What then happens is the most miraculous, the most beautiful things, because what's happening is like you're living in a way that you're in harmony with life how it's supposed to be and how it was made to be and how it will become, so that it's constantly really, really good, and it gets better and better every day. Because it's sort of like being on the right, if it was like fractals, it would be like beautiful fractals forever, increasingly, because of the right mathematical formula, instead of having an error in the calculation, okay? Now, look. Right, so pardon me. So what happens is there's a point of theoretical instruction with all of this, right? There's a point of practical application and winning in all areas of life, whether it's business, personal life, health life, whatever you have wisely mastered and gone through and been victorious with is like additional ammunition in your magazines, right? To win the battle, because there is a battle. Okay, this world that we live in, not of, in and not of it, right? There's some things going on here. Look, what I'm saying here may sound like, that's just so optimistic, so wonderful. What an easy, what a beautiful, simple, way to live, and that's just too good to be true. Well, it's actually true, but the thing is, take a look for a moment at some of the things going on in the world. And there's nothing new under the sun. All of the unnecessary and foolish, and thus potentially dangerous pitfalls and errors, and like the dangers and even evils and things of that sort that exist within the human experience are actually completely, totally out of place. They actually have no place, and they were not intended to be thus, okay? Do you actually comprehend this? I know that this is true because I understand how life works, and I see, and I've experienced different things. What is going on is that every one of us is shaping our destiny as we go, right? We're all shaping our destiny as we go. Either knowingly or unknowingly, to put it very, very simply differentiated, either knowingly or unknowingly. So every human is actually already practicing something like self-mastery automatically. It's just part of human nature, because we all have dreams, ideas, right? Good inspiration that we, follow and hopefully manifest, right? Yet the key and the big difference and the real, I would say the greatest and the best way to live is as a real magi, a seer, right? Who really comprehends it all, okay? Because, and also with that, you are a master, whether you're male or female, okay? So now look. As a master, right? A master is somebody who is able to actually, definitively, with due respect to the Most High and to the Creator and His additional divine guidance and instruction and so on, right? As someone who's actually able to determine their destiny, okay? I can foresee the future, right? And I can make it a certain way. And this is because of having wisdom, right? And retaining it and gaining more of it and scientifically experimenting with it and gaining more of it and holding on to it and working with it and winning and winning and winning. And that's how you should also. That's how you should too. And so should you, right? Now, as I was getting into earlier, the main difference is that we make our God-given free will intelligently obedient to good divine guidance and inspiration, and also hearken and listen to wisdom. Like, wisdom is my sister. This is a sister that is just so perfect. She's like the best of the best of the best of all the best. Because why? She can fix anything. She can produce anything. She can eliminate anything. It's like the perfect, absolute perfect helper. right? If, like I said, if wisdom was your friend, this is a friend who, this is the greatest friend there is. The key though, and how do you attain this? So how would you get this? Well, some of it is automatically timed. A person reaches a level of maturity around the age of 33, okay? So that's automatic based on the cycles of life and the simple overall periods of human life, and how around the age of like the summer of, or like so during the last summer of your 32nd year, leading up to your 33rd year of your life, you will have reached a point in, what's it called? In the simple overall period of human life. So these are 7-year segments from 0 to 144 years, okay? And then when you turn, so I would say during the summer of the 32nd year of your life, right? Enlightenment, what's also known as cosmic attunement, yet actual, real magic happens in your life, so that you see, and you begin to see clearly, like a magi, you see through and you comprehend it all gradually. And then this is increasingly the case around the 33rd year of your life. Enlightenment will have happened to you, okay? And at that point, it takes a while to process that and then to begin to work with that, okay? Being age 38 now, I know, because it took a couple years for me to actually really fully realize when enlightenment happened when I was 32 years old, okay? I remember the moment. I hopefully will never forget it, but there's a moment in life when you realize everything. It's like a feeling of being united with the universe being one with you and actually having its origin from within you. Something like that, okay? When this happens, it's all clear to you. But this is a very serious thing because it totally changes your outlook on life. Now, a master, right? Remember, someone who's a master is someone who's able to determine their destiny, okay? Who is not subject, okay, I'm using the term subject, who's not subject to, or let's say not subject to very much of, right? Or not subject to the foolishness, the nonsense, the superstitions, or the sort of erratic and harmful belief systems that exist in the world, like that, life is just random, or that there's, it's all coincidence, or you can't change the future. No. Every day, every one of us is actively determining the future. You're actually determining the future right now. And moreover, I want to tell you that, yes, hello and welcome everyone. I appreciate you joining in here. I'm just in a presentation mode. So I'm going to actually, I'm going to keep on presenting, and then perhaps I'm going to offer to take a few questions, short and sweet and simple. Good questions, really important ones, okay, maybe through the chat in a few minutes, yeah? So just hold on for a second, because I still have to present a little more about the benefits and also the eternal security, right? And remember, this is free, okay? It's almost like, hey, I'm giving you free tools wherewith anything can be built, and the greatest things can be built, yet also the most terrible things can be built. But don't worry, because it's not from one second to another. Miracles don't happen in the blink of an eye necessarily, neither do catastrophes. It's all based on where you work yourself to, okay? So you really have nothing to worry about. You have to be advised that with wisdom, almost like in the movie, with great power comes great responsibility. So you have a certain amount of responsibility once you start operating with more operational capability, because the consequences, either positive or negative, of what you can produce are greatly increased. This is why we have something called, this is even part of wisdom. Wisdom also shows us what decisions to make, what choices to make. Listen, it all starts with an idea. A thought, a feeling, an idea, an inspiration, a cosmic impulse, or a divine inspired thought or whatever you call that, right? And then it might come into an idea, it might turn into a word and a deed and an action and a real life result, right? Whatever it is. May it be a good thing, okay? But see, we have to have the wisdom to discern and to differentiate and intelligently really comprehend it all increasingly. This is the ideal state of existence as a human being, because that way there's a lot more good that you can accomplish, right? If I know how to foresee the future and what's possible within certain time frames in real life, and I have a full overview of all the possibilities, right? And I have certain legitimate objectives, and I know what the future is capable of manifesting, and I can pinpointedly manifest certain things to happen through wise action right now in the future, right? That's a very powerful skill. That's an important life skill, and that is a skill that all of us sort of actually instinctively and also naturally have as human beings. Yet the key is that we have to have a good safe grip on this, because look, we see examples of this. This is the example of life. Different situations. What can happen, right? You see it, you read and you hear about it in the news. Catastrophes, the end of the world seemingly, or miracles. There's a big difference. And the difference is produced by what you produce. Now, look, very simply put, at this point, everyone here in this live stream, you should know that at the end of the day, right, it's very easy to practice self-mastery and to actually learn and to successfully and safely practice the most important skill there is of mastery. It's actually very easy. It's just such a gigantic subject matter, and there's so much opportunity, and there's so many possibilities, and there's so much range within this. Imagine anything and everything that anyone could accomplish during a human lifespan, but increasingly eternal amounts of that, and so on, right? With definitive ability to determine definitive results, right? It's a serious thing. And that's why we also have to use our time wisely, because it is precious, right? Every second, every minute, every hour, every day really has to be put into, or should be put into, good service to the Creator and our fellow human beings and creation and all of that, right? So look, self-mastery is actually very simple. It just basically is that you monitor the cycles of life that you're in, okay? Now, I'm going to quickly deliver a nutshell description of this. There are basically about 9 different cycles of life within, what seems to be the eternal cycle of life. There's about 9 different ones that are relevant to us at any given point in time. Now, from long, all right, hold on. I'm going to start on your birthday, and then I'm going to cover the short to the long. So there's 9 different ones, right? You have, first of all, every person has a unique life cycle based on their unique birthday. Every person is born, right, at a certain time. When you take your first breath, you've just entered, that's when your life cycle begins. Now, the basic, simple overall, did I say I was going to go from short to long? I'm going to go from long to short instead. Makes more sense, okay? So you've got your birthday. The moment you take your first breath, your simple overall period of human life begins. And that's 144 years in length, ideally. And it can be accomplished thus with prudence, with wisdom, right? As with all good things, and anything technically. There's 7-year cycles within that 144-year cycle. Now, also, based on your birth date, you have a certain soul personality. Basically, every person, every one of us has a soul personality. And this soul personality is like what we're good at, what our strengths are, and also what we should work on or improve, and what we should avoid. Okay? Having an overview of this is very helpful, because that way you can make best decisions in all of your lifetime so that you accomplish and also bear good fruit and also really accomplish the highest good and also benefit and grow and have the fullest and the best of it all, right? Okay, as divinely sort of preordained and predestined. So you have the maximum benefit of it all, okay? Now, that having been said, we've got, so the longest cycle seems to be the eternal cycle of life itself, yet there's 9 cycles that are relevant. It's a simple overall period of human life that starts on your birthday and goes up to 144 years. There's segments of 7 years within that, equally distributed. Then you've got your soul personality, of course. That's something you should monitor all the time. And another thing is, you've got the annual life cycle period of 365 days, right? This starts on your birthday. And it ends just before your birthday, and it starts on your birthday. It's basically a solar year. And there are 7 segments of 52 days within that, where in every one of these 7 52-day segments, it's particularly good for certain things. It's a time for certain things in business, in health, life, in personal life, etc. Okay? And then you've got the long lunar unit of 3.5 days that constantly alternates between positive and negative. Then you've got a short lunar unit of 3 hours that alternates between basically negative and positive constantly. It also expresses itself and is visible as the tides by the ocean with either high tides or low tides. Okay, and then you have the 3 hour and 25-minute daily periods of the cycles of life, whereof there are 7 days, and that 7 days in a row, that's a strong, okay? Right. Now, the thing is, self-mastery, the first step to self-mastery is actually quite simply this. You have to stop. We have to stop, take a deep breath, and check what time it actually is. And also, don't use the summertime calculation of time, no matter where you are. Always use the wintertime calculation of time, because that's the actual time it is. The summertime is fictitious, and it's a dangerous artificially condition that gives inaccurate rendering of time that is absolutely crucial, right? So use the winter time. So you check what time of the day it is. So I checked it, I see my watch, I see it's 11:20 p.m. on a Thursday. That's a daily period of the cycles of life of D. Okay, it goes from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So I know what this 3 hour, 25-minute period is good for. From 8:34 p.m. to midnight tonight, it's a D period. It's good for educational work. So that's why we're doing that right now, okay? For example. So I'm already occupied with and busy with the right things, right? Wherefore it is the time right now. So what I'm doing is working good, okay? Because it's the right thing that's supposed to happen right now. I'm making it happen, and it's happening good. That's how it works. Then you got to check the short lunar unit, okay? Now, I actually think that, see, we had one at, hold on, what time was that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we must be in a positive one again. There's a 3 hour, constantly alternating 3 hour positive or negative lunar unit, okay? Now, if I go and I switch screens right now, give me one. Now, okay, don't worry about it. Look, what we're doing right now is we're actually checking and establishing a clear comprehension of what our actual real-time position within the cycles of life is. So this would be like checking the map, your position based on navigational coordinates of like where you are right now within the cycles of life. If this was on a ship, you'd be like the chief navigational officer checking you're determining where you are right now on the map so you can get where you'd like to go, basically, okay? So I think it's actually, hold on, was that 4 o'clock? 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We should actually be in, so wait, that's a positive, 3 hours negative, there's a 3-hour increasing again. I think we're actually in a positive short lunar unit of 3 hours. Now, as you may notice, there's a full moon, almost full moon above. So 3.5 days before a full moon, it's a 3.5 day positive long lunar unit. So if you know what the short lunar unit is of 3 hours that you're in and the long one, you get a combination of both negative and positive polarities. And the combination of those gives a certain condition for a certain amount of time, and that's exactly 3 hours. So say we're in a positive short lunar unit of 3 hours right now, right? Including that with the fact that we're in a 3.5 day long lunar unit, right? What that gives you is a double positive lunar unit. Now, why do I mention this? Okay, hold on. Before I get into this, let me finish covering the 9 cycles that every one of us is in a different position. You've got, well, I explained that, right? Yeah, the simple overall period of human life, the annual life cycle period with the health, business, and personal life cycle in it, right? Then the long lunar unit of 3.5 days, the short lunar unit of 3 hours, and a daily period, right? And at the longest of those also being your soul personality, and right. Okay, well, we're talking specifically about the lunar units now because, see, the ability to predict the future and actually also determine it has to do with, is directly hinges upon being able to foresee by having accurately mapped the lunar units that you're in and that are coming up. So this is no different than someone standing by the seaside with a boat who knows what time the tide comes in and what time the tide goes out. And there's an island a mile out, right? You'd like to go there in your boat. Okay, so you launch your boat when the tide goes out, and you go and you land on the island and you have a great time, right? Safety first, yeah. And then you return to land when the tide goes toward land again, and you land safely. This is all it is. It's actually exactly that same mechanism, yet more detailed, okay? So now, based on knowing what the lunar units are, you can actually, first of all, understand and comprehend what the current state of the universe and the world around you is based on the proximity that you have to the nearest maritime port where there's a tidometer that gives and produces the information or reads off the information of what's happening in creation, actually, in the form of the tides. Because the tides, right, you have like you've got a high tide, and then 12 hours later you've got a low tide. And this goes on all of the time, right? That's a short lunar unit at work. And its visible reading mechanism is a tidometer and a tide chart. So based on knowing what the lunar units are, we can actually know what is basically possible within creation and life and in the universe and the world around us, in a general sort of a part of the world, so to say, based on the readings that we have from a tide chart that shows us at what time there's a high tide and what time there's a low tide, okay? Because 3 hours before a high tide, it's a positive short lunar unit, okay? So if you take that positive short and you combine it with a positive 3.5 day lunar unit, right? Guess what you get? Well, you get a double positive lunar unit. So in that 3 hour time frame, for example, the difference between positive and negative in that regard is basically there's positive masculine, energetically masculine or male energy, so to say, that is positively increasing and like expanding and gaining mass. And that's at work in creation, right? When somebody's building a house, that type of a vibe. And there's also energetically feminine and resting energy that is energetically feminine and resting and more calm, okay? And this is directly, intelligently legible to us in the form of having an overview of the tides at the nearest maritime port where there are measurable ocean tides, and also by mapping out and monitoring the dates of the new moon and the full moon, okay? And also keeping a calendar, a self-mastery calendar, ideally with a page for every day, where you've got something that's like a page where you have all these cycles written down. And so then you have windows of opportunity identified on that page during that day. So how does this actually look? I have videos to explain this on the channel. Go and scroll through the YouTube channel, right? And look for a video. You'll have to scroll a little bit. You'll find it. It'll be something like wise, like navigation, life. You can put in the hashtag, put in hashtags, hashtag navigating, hashtag cycles of life, hashtag self-mastery, hashtag calendar, or hashtag wise mapping, or something like that. And what it is like this. Picture this. I get up, I say my praises and my prayers, and I open up my calendar, and I have a page for the day today where I can see what the lunar units are, and I know what potential is available in the universe and in the world around me at what times, and what is actually possible to be created. And I can also predict the, so first of all, by being able to, so by having a map of the lunar units for that day or that month or whatever, how much work you put in, remember, there are different levels. There's a lot of range with this. If you put in wise work, based on how much wise work you put in, the better and the bigger the good results are. It's like planting. You plant a couple of seeds, you get a couple of plants. You plant 1 billion seeds, you get 1 billion or more plants. That's how it works. So remember, we're just going on, like, giving you a basic introduction here. So the thing is that based on the amount of wise discipline or good organized wise work you put in into self-mastery, and even if it's just writing your calendar, right, the more detailed of an overview of everything and how it works and the cycles of life that you're in and those that are coming up you have, the more power you have to make, first of all, foresee the future accurately. And how do you do that? It's by mapping the lunar units, monitoring the cycles of life, having an overview of them, knowing what ones you're in right now and knowing what ones are coming up. And then making certain wise decisions in the right windows of opportunity, leading to basically the definite manifestation of certain results with a variable. The only variable or unknown factor involved is basically when you have a certain amount of standard order in place, it's just that it turns out even better. That's sort of what happens. But generally speaking, though, the ability to predict the future accurately and also determine what happens in the future, it's a very important skill, and it's based on having an overview of the cycles of life that you're in, monitoring them, monitoring the life cycles, being watchful, and also knowing what life cycles are coming up. And then, as I said, having the lunar units mapped out, because the lunar units are the key to identifying, right? So the lunar units are the key to identifying the potential that is available in creation, and at what time what potential is available. Either basically positive or negative. Double negative, neutral, or double positive, to be precise. So how does this actually practically look? Well, it's really simple. It's like this. Look, say I seek to accomplish some legitimate, divinely ordained objective. Okay, there's a time and a place in this legitimate, divinely ordained objective can specifically be accomplished. And what will happen is you will accomplish the objective. That will be, generally, you will accomplish the objective. Yet what might happen, and what does sometimes happen, is that something even better that is still in accordance with that objective, or that is still like as good as what you sought to accomplish, yet actually even better happens. Now, having that and being able to have that happen all the time, basically, that's already pretty good. You're basically safe. in all of life with that. Okay? It's a serious thing, right? Now, look, that having been said, if you can practice that and do that, right, then imagine just how good your life is already, because you're basically, like, from now on, with self-mastery and self-discipline, a little bit, right, you're able to make it so that your life is generally, as a standard minimum, always generally safe. That's already a lot better than a lot of what we see going on, right? Now, I was just talking about the lunar units and how they're the key to being able to foresee and predict the future. And also, the reason why that's the case is because a lot of things in life have to do with either a positive or a negative polarity. And you see this both also on the physical level with male and female. You see this in language, yes, no, plus, minus, right? Increase, decrease, etc. This whole thing. So that the way that all works is based on what the lunar units are. And what the lunar units are is basically, like I said, there's a short lunar unit of 3 hours, and there's a long lunar unit of 3.5 days. And this constantly alternates. So this is why you have to be watchful, because basically speaking, every 3 hours, right, the shortest but also one of the most important cycles of life, it changes. And by knowing what cycles of life you're in, you can live in harmony with the cycles of life and enjoy a standard amount of actually ensured safety and prosperity that nothing and nobody can breach except yourself if you become foolish or lazy, perchance. And even then, look, as complicated as this all may seem, the Creator, right, with his, eternal goodness, is always with us and is also helping us, okay? So, okay, I got to skip now to one more, and probably the most important point, is that even while everything I've said is true, even though it may seem complicated, the benefits of this are magnificent, okay? And at the same time, in and through and during all of this, the Creator is also helping us and is actually communicating to us in real time. So what I'm saying is that if there's something you're seeking to figure out, you're trying to make this, work or whatever, remember, like, even with like the maximum amounts of wisdom, and increasingly, you're still gaining more wisdom and guidance and instruction from what could be classified as God within, the holy breath, or the cosmic mind, or the holy breath, or even just sort of the higher divine self that is yourself within your highest self, right? So you're always safe. It actually is thus, and it's always been like that, and that's how it is. That's how it will be. Yes. Okay, so any questions now? I'd like to take maybe 1 or 2 questions, because I realize that it is, in fact, good to have legit wise counsel sometimes, and to be able, see, you have to build on that, though. So you shouldn't take someone else's answer as final, but having good, legit, wise counsel is important to have a good foundation. And then you also must, and we all must, and we obviously do, seek the truth and find it for ourselves with God's help. So it always works, right? Always good, always good.